Hey guys, my name is xOctoManx and this is part 2 of my quest system tutorial, which has been requested by a Patreon. So yeah, if you want to become a Patreon, feel free to do so, and so yeah, give me your request for your game. So let's get started with the second part in here. In the last part we were creating the quest C# script, which is containing basically all the information, or actually give us the possibility to pass over information. And today we are going to create the quest manager script. So go into our scripts folder, in your quests folder, and create a new C# script called quest manager. So what we do is, in here we will this will be the management object or management script, where we pass in all of our data for all our scripts, and we will fill out all the data by hand. Okay, so now quest manager is opened, and now we can fill in all the data. The first one and most important one is we need to make use of system.collections.generic, which is a namespace we're using that we're able to use lists. Lists are important for us because we want to list all our quests inside that list and read the data later on and pass that over to another list, so we have stuff to compare and so on and so forth. So what we also want to do is we want to make sure that quest manager later on is a static game object and is persistent in every scene and so on and so forth. You should know how that is going to work. We will go over that anyway. So let's get started. At first, it's going to be a public static, and then it's of type quest manager, of course, because we need that. And this is going to be our quest manager with a small q at the beginning of the variable. So what we can do is with that is we can call the quest manager directly from any position, from any point of our game. And that's pretty much useful, so we don't need to find that particular game object where the quest manager is located, and we can go through all of that stuff. And yeah, we don't have to find the game object the whole time when we are actually accessing that. So we can directly access it from any point in the game, from any NPC in the scene, from anything we are expecting. So what we now do is we need to create a list for our quest, and this is going to be, of course, a public list because we want to fill in data from inside the inspector. So it's going to be public of type list, and this is of course going to be of type quest. So we create a quest list, and this is also what we call this one. It's going to be our quest list, which contains later on quests actually, and this is going to be equal to new list of type quest, and there we go. So this is going to be our master quest list. This is a list where all your quests later on, you can create all that quest inside the master list or in the quest list, and where you pass in all the data which is contained in the quest, and you can decide what you take and how you want to create those quests. And basically you just pass over strings and integers and so on and so forth. So you have the possibility to design basically all your quests by hand in the inspector. Then we take make use another list, which is also of type quest, but in this case it's going to be our current quest list. That means when we are accepting a quest, this will pass over, or basically we bring a copy of that currently selected list for a quest from the quest list and passes in the current quest list. So what we can do with that is we can actually create a quest log, for example. Also we can see what quests are currently running without going through the quest list again. So we have a special quest list for that. So this is our current quest list again, which means when we are actually have any quest accepted, then it will in here, and also a completed quest will also be in here. But still, the copy, it's just a copy of that what is inside the quest list. So it will act as the same as the quest list itself. It's just better to change the stuff inside the current quest list, and will automatically update the quest list later on anyways. So what we also need to do is we need to create some private variables later on in here. So I just comment them out. This is going to be for our the private vars for our quest object. The quest object later on will be any NPC character, any, I don't know, wherever you can get a quest, maybe from a book or whatever, or any position in the game, any collider, anything. Okay, so also, since we want to make the quest manager static, we want to make sure that in the awake function, we do so that we are creating just that one instance is going to be our main instance, and so on and so forth. So what we say is void awake. And of course we do all the same stuff as we did in the turn-based battle system for the game manager, for example. So what we say is if quest manager is going to be equal to null, so if there is no quest manager inside, then we want to say that quest manager equals this. So this is going to be the quest manager for that particular part. And also, if it's not the case, so else if the quest manager is not this, not equal this, then what we want to do is we want to say that we go over and destroy this particular game object. So destroy, in brackets, game object. So, and also this is still making sure that we don't have double copies of our quest manager in the scene or in the game. So, and after that, so we want to make that particular game object persistent. We need to use the function which Unity provides already, which is called don't destroy on load. And what we pass in is the game object we are currently in. Okay, so with that we make sure that the game object is going to stay persistent and has no double copies in the whole game. Okay, so let's start with the manager itself. At first I go over and delete start and update since we don't need them. What we want to do is we need a lot of functions in here for the whole functionality. There are a lot of possibilities to create that. I might go over and change stuff later on to fix some stuff here and there. But let's start with the pretty basic ones. What we can do is we can go over and create some bool functions which are basically testing around what do we currently have, what is available, what is accepted already, and what's completed already. And all those functions are basically always go over and do the same and always use almost the same information. So at first, if I want to check from any point if a specific game or a specific quest is already accepted or available, then I want to check that with just the easy bool with just the easy bool and return that back to the requesting object. So what we say is we create a bool function, so we will return true or false at the very end. And what we do is we say we want to request available quest. And what we want to pass in is the ID of that particular quest. So we say int quest ID. This is just just a variable we are taking and can use for anything. So I will show you what in just a second what's going to do with that, what's happening with that. So we pass over a quest ID into that bool when we are requesting the available quest, without any typos, hopefully. And what we do is we go and loop through our current quest list. So what we say is for int I. We will use a lot of for loops, so yeah, be prepared for this. So for int I, we start at the point of 0, and while I is smaller than the quest list dot count, so we go through the whole list, we want to increment I. So if we have only one item in there, then there only will be one loop or one cycle through it. If there is no quest inside, we might get an index out of range or something like that. So later on we might go and fix some stuff for that too. But at least for the moment it's very pretty much good working in here, and we don't want to have an empty quest list. So yeah, that's not important at the moment. So what we do is we want to check if this particular ID we are requesting, so we are passing over, is available in the quest list. And we need to ask the quest list because available stuff will not be in the current quest list. That's why we are going through the actually the master quest list. We can also always go into the master quest list and request all that stuff directly. So what we say is, if quest ID, if quest list in square brackets I, we loop through the whole quest list, and what we want to check is if the ID in that particular item in that particular quest list, because it's of type quest, is going to be equal to the quest ID we're passing in. And if it's so, we also want to make sure is if this particular quest list item I dot, and now we want to request the progress. So if the progress is going to be equal to, and now we can go into the quest itself. So we can say quest.questProgress.available. So if that is an available quest, then we want to make sure that we are returning true. So I'm gonna create another pair of brackets in here, and we say return true. Okay, but if that's not the case, then we want to go out of that, and we want to say after the for loop directly, we want to return false. Like this. So this is an easy bool function where we can instantly request if something is true or not, while we are looping through the complete quest list. And what we basically do is we can copy that one 3 times, 2 times in my case, and later on if we need that more and more, then we can recreate them. And what we also want to request later on is if we have an accepted quest. And what we do is we pass in the same info. The same quest list is requested by that quest ID, but instead of available, we want to ask for the accepted state. So we are requesting if there is any accepted quest. I know nothing might have some sense at the moment, but later on it will, trust me. So the last one is going to be, the third one is going to be, we request if there is any complete quest. Complete means not given away, but already, we have that already. So we change the quest progress at the very end to complete. So now we have that 3 bools, or booleans, which we can pass over from any point or request from any point. It's it's crucial that we have them, or it's needed that we have them. I can clamp them a bit together, and we can go and create the next functions. The first and most important one, or not the most important one, but one of those important ones, is we want to add items to our list, or basically add items. I will explain that in just a second. We will add items to the list, or basically that we have collected something, we killed something, or anything else. And what we later on will do also is we want to remove items. So the removing items part is only when you have an available inventory system. and we might not go over it into that pretty quick, but yeah, later on we will add that too. So yeah, if you have an available inventory system, then you can easily remove the items by going through the whole items list and so on and so forth. I will explain this one later on. Okay, so what we want to do is, an item in this case is any number or any item itself is what we are collecting. Like when we kill a monster, then we can pass over the objective and the item amount. So when we kill one goblin, we can use the same function as if we are just collecting one mushroom. It's basically the same. So what we also need to do, or the only thing you need to do is when you're collecting the mushroom, you will pass this over into your inventory later on if you have any, and we basically count stuff in that particular quest up. So what we want to do is we create a public function, of course. We don't return anything, so it's of type void, and this is going to be an add quest item. That's what it's called, and we need to pass over, as I already mentioned, the quest objective, which is in my case a string. If you have seen the first tutorial, then you know why. You can also use int at that point, and the int item amount, and we pass that item amount inside. So if you have something like 100 coins you have to collect, or you get 2 items at the same time from a specific monster as a drop or anything, then this is going to be the item amount. Now what we want to do is we want to update the current quest, if there is a current quest already. But what we need to do is we need to loop through the whole quest at first to see what quest is actually having that requested object or requested item, for example. Later on I will show you, then you can easily add stuff into with just one line of code, nothing else. And so what we do is, whenever we have killed something or anything else, then we loop through the current quest list. So we say once again, for int I is going to be equal to 0 while I is smaller than the current quest list dot count. So if there basically is anything at first, we increment I, so we can loop through the whole complete list. And now what we want to check is if any of the current quest lists items I dot quest objective is going to match the quest objectives we just have passed in over. So it's going to be, if one of them is going to be equal to or equal to the quest, let me rename this to quest objective. It's going to be equal to the passed in quest objective, and the progress is already accepted. I believe that this might not be needed like that. Maybe I will change this one but for the moment, I want to make sure that I don't have completed the quest if it is in the current quest list. So since they will be completed or accepted when they are in the current quest list. So that's what I want to make sure, that the one is not completed. So I add in only then or update only then that particular quest item or quest object or whatever, or quest. So what we say is, if the current quest list, again we go through that with I dot progress is if this is only the accepted state, so quest or quest progress accepted, so not completed. And only then what we want to do is we want to add to the item amount. So what we do is we say current quest list in square brackets once again I dot, and now we add in or pass over the item amount to our quest objective count. We have the requirement in here and the count. So when we have that count, we just add in the item amount we just passed over in here too, when we are passing all that stuff over. Okay, so we increase the passed in amount. Also, what we want to do is, after we are done with adding that to that list, we want to make sure if the quest will be already completed when we have the correct item amount. So we don't need to pass over anything right now. So again, we check that in the current quest list. We are in the same item, in item I, dot quest, oops. So if the quest objective count is greater or equal to the current quest list item I dot required quest objective requirement, what we want to do is and of course we want to make sure that the quest progress is already accepted. So I go over and copy this part in here. So, and the quest list I.progress is going to be accepted, so not completed at that particular point. Then what we do is we can set the quest progress to be completed. So what we do is we say current quest list item I.progress is going to be equal, so we set this one to quest complete. So with that, we can add in our item, and I can later on show you everything and why is that so easy to use and simple to set up. So what we later on just call is from outside, from any point, when we are adding to that quest item, we can compare everything, can set everything, and this will automatically make sure that we complete our quest, like we ran into any collider or whatever. And then we can update everything else. So the current quest list is already updated and so on and so forth. And we can go back to our quest giver, for example, and and can check if we get or basically bring back our item or our quest. So, as I said, we keep track of removing the items later on, because this is only if we have an inventory system, as I said before. So, the next thing is, when I am adding my items, I'm done with that. But what we also want to do is, we want to complete our quest. And we want to make sure that we also are able to accept a quest and to give up a quest when we don't have, we don't want to use that, or I don't know. And also later on, we want to make sure that we can check for chain quests. And chain quests will be automatically updated later on when we have completed our quest. So, we want to accept a quest. We want to give up a quest. If you don't want to give up anything later on, or you don't want to give the possibility to give it up, then you don't need that. And we want to complete a quest. So let's start with accepting the quest. What's happening when we are accepting a quest? At first, we need the button ID, of course, and this is going to be called from a button we are pressing, which is actually the accept button. So again, this is going to be of type void. It's public because we need to access it from outside, and I call this one accept quest. Again, we need to loop through everything. We need to pass over the quest ID we have selected. So what we do is we loop through that, and we say for int I is going to be equal to 0 while I is smaller than the quest list count. Oops. Quest list count. We want to increment I, so I plus plus. And while we are looping through, we want to check for that particular quest ID. So if the quest list item in square brackets I dot ID is going to be equal to or equal to quest ID we're passing in, and the progress is going to be available. So quest progress, quest list square brackets I dot progress is going to be equal to quest available. So we are able to accept that particular quest. Then what we want to do is we want to add this particular quest to the current quest list. So we say current quest list dot add, and in brackets we pass over quest list and square brackets I. Since this quest list also contains only quests. Also, what we want to make sure is that we say quest list and square brackets I dot progress is going to be equal to quest list accepted, because we need to set this one to be an accepted quest. Okay, so now we have that quest inside inside our current quest list, and we have set the state of that particular quest into into accepted. So when we now have that quest, we also want to go through everything once again and make sure that we also have the possibility to give that quest up. Again, you don't need that if you don't want to have the possibility, but if you want to have later on maybe a quest cap or whatever, then you can easily go in and change all that. So this is basically doing all the same, but we call this one give up quest. So we can give it up, and what we pass in again is the integer of the quest ID. You can call that whatever you want. It's not needed, but it's easier to know where that is coming from, and I'll show you later on. So again, we loop through the whole current list in this case. So for int I is going to be equal to 0, and while I is smaller than the current quest list dot count. So that only works, of course, if we have something in that current list. Then we want to again compare the ID. So if current quest list item I dot ID is going to be the same as the quest ID we're passing over, and the current quest list dot in square brackets I dot progress, it's going to be the equal to quest dot accepted. So we need to make sure that this is only happening when it's accepted. I mean, why would you go over and kill an accepted or a completed quest if you would be able to? If you want to add that too, then you can also add another another end statement, or basically an OR statement. So with two pipes. So you can say if it accepted or completed, then you can also kill that particular quest afterwards. So, oh, I forgot the if statement. We need to make sure that this is going to be an if statement. So if this is true and if this is true, then we want to make the following. And what we want to make sure is, at first, we set this quest back to where it has been, so we can access this one later on once again. So the current list I, the progress is going to be equal to the quest available. So it's again available for our players, and he can get this one later on, for example. Also, what we want to do is we want to change the quest objective. So if we have already collected, I don't know, one item, for example, and we want to reset the quest objective count to be 0 once again. So it's just everything is deleted, your whole progress is gone. And what we want to do is we want to remove that particular item from our current quest list. And what we go pass in is the current quest list item I. So this way we are able to give up the quest when we are calling that particular quest with that particular quest ID. Okay, and now we want to make sure if we have accepted the quest and we completed everything, and the add item function passed over, hey, your quest is completed. Then what we want to do is we want to call that function again from another button. So we can give this away, and we can set the quest progress to be done. So what we say is public, again of type void, and we call this function complete quest. And what we pass over is, once again, yes, the quest ID. And inside that function, we again go through the whole current quest list with a for loop. So for int I is going to be equal to 0. And while I is smaller than our current quest list dot count, and we'll increment I once again. So, and if the current quest list in square brackets I dot ID is going to be the same as our past and quest ID. So at first we need to find that. Then the next one is we want to make sure that is really a completed quest state of that particular quest. So if the current quest list square brackets I dot progress is going to be equal to quest list quest progress complete. So if it's really completed, and only then we want to pass over, hey, we have done that. So we say current quest list, again in square brackets I dot progress is going to be equal to, so we set this one to quest progress done. So this is absolutely 100% completed right now. And what we also need to do is we need to say current quest list dot remove. So we remove that particular quest from the game, from the current quest list. So what we say is current quest list in square brackets I. Don't forget to enter line. This. And of course, don't forget to save often. So now we can complete a quest, we can give it up, we can accept it from special buttons. And we may go over and reuse these functions. But maybe we also go over and use some new bools or some other bools which have some other stuff to handle around. Let me just check out my notes. Oh yeah, and then we have, of course, a super big function we need to call later on. But first, let's create a quest object. If you make sure that everything compiles very well in here, we don't have any typos. Oh, there seems to be a typo. Let me just go in and check what's the problem. Oh yeah, that needs to be equal. Save. Gonna compile this once again. Yep, there we go. So what we do is we create another C# script, and this is going to be called quest object. Again, a quest object, it can be an NPC character or anything else. And we need this quest object to pass over particular quest objects, for example, like the NPC guys, which are holding our quests. And this quest object can again be everything. But we need to take this and use this. So let's get over and open this one up pretty quick. And what we want to do in here is we create another pair of lists. So we're gonna make use of system.collections.generic once again. And this list is just containing some integers. So it's going to be public because we want to handle everything like we want to, of type list in those it's of type int, and this is going to be our available quest IDs. So and this is going to be equal to, of course, a new list of type integer, so we can pass over information. And what we also need is another list, and this is not the available quest IDs, this is the receivable quest IDs. Receivable or receivable, I don't know. Receivable, like this. Okay, so we save that. What we can do is we can pass over right now, or we can say for a particular, for any NPC character or whatever, we can say, okay, you are the only one who has an available quest ID like number 5. And if you have, and if that number 5 is already unlocked in the quest list, a player can go over there and take that quest. And same for receivables. You don't need to have the same NPC character to receive the same quest ID. So there's the same quest of 5, for example. But you can take maybe away ID number 23. And that's what you need to figure out later on. And I will show you everything to make this work properly. So what we need to do is we need to trigger that in any way. And then we are able to check for quests, for example. But what we need to do is we create some kind of flag. This flag will make sure that when we are in the surroundings of an NPC and we are pressing a particular button, for example, the space bar or I don't know, or the E button or anything or whatever you need. Then we want to open up our quest panel, but only then when the NPC actually has an available quest ID, which is currently available in the quest manager. So we build this up a bit. We later on will add more information into that. So what we do is we create a private bool. I believe it was a private one, yes. So a private bool. And this is going to be called just inTrigger. So, and we set this one to be false from the very beginning. So what we say or what we create is an onTrigger enter function and an onTrigger exit function. So void onTrigger enter. Then what we want to make sure is if collider or we pass in any collider we are hitting, and what we want to make sure is that if the other.tag is going to be equal to the player tag, which is our character in this case, then we want to say we are inTrigger. So inTrigger is going to be true. If we are leaving the trigger, so I go over and copy the whole part in here. So onTrigger exit in this case, when we are leaving it, and it's the same tag, we want to set this one to false. But and what we now can do is on update, since we have that bool as a flag, or bool gets triggered on and off, I can say in update when the trigger is true. So if trigger or inTrigger, and we press any button. So maybe input dot, I don't know, get key down, this one, and maybe the key code dot space. Like this. So if we are in that trigger and we are pressing the space bar, then then we want to trigger something. And what we want to call in here is later on our user interface manager to show and to check everything. This is going to be a bit tricky later on. The Quest UI manager basically will do everything and show us everything what we need and so on and so forth. But the cool is, for now, we could take this quest object and already bring in some quest markers, for example, and request if there is anything we currently requested. But I believe, whoops, sorry for this. But I believe it's a bit better when we are doing that in another tutorial or tutorial part. Oh, something went wrong in here. I go over into my town and easily create. Where are my scenes? There we go. In town 1. What I can do is I can create one NPC character as a cube, for example. So I'm gonna say create 3D object cube. This is going to be at 0.5, and or I don't know, I just reset that for the first, and then set this one to 0.5, and I don't know, place this over here, and I can actually give it a material, maybe red, so you can see this one better. So this is going to be one NPC, and what I do is at first I don't want to collide, or I want to collide with that. So when I run with my hero into it, I don't want to go through that guy. So I can, actually leave that box collider as a collider, not a trigger. But I can also go over and pass in another box collider, for example, and make this one trigger. So when I trigger this collider, then I'm able to put everything around and run into that and activate that guy here, that NPC. So when I enter this small collider in there, then I can request basically if there is any quest or not, and I can talk to that NPC. You can make this one big or small or whatever you want, but also on that NPC what I need is my quest object script, which I have in here. So what I can do is I can enter a size of maybe 2, and I can let's say at least 1. And what I have is a quest ID 1. You can enter any integer ID you like, and also I want to make sure that this receivable ID is also be 1. So this NPC will also take back the same ID. You can later on also have 20 different NPCs which are taking back the same ID, but if only one is taking that, no matter where you are, no matter where you give that one up, every other guys will automatically be updated. So that's what we are taking care of later on. And now let's create a new empty game object, and this is going to be at first my quest manager object, so you can see something we have already done. So we drag over our quest manager game object, and we have here our current quest list and our quest list. We don't touch current quest list. What we want to pass in is the size of 1. So what we have, for example, is our title in here. It's going to be Hello World, as you have seen in my in my introduction video. This is the quest ID 1, and we want to make sure that this quest is going to be available, and we can describe right now everything inside that inspector window. You can type in as many as you need and like. We go over later on and create the user interface for all that infos. And what we can do is we can describe that. So this is your first quest and so on and so forth. Leave the town, whatever. You can describe it, your quest, as however you want. You can use a lot stuff in here. The hint is going to be, again, just a quick reminder for the player, or to easing stuff up, like go to town XYZ, I don't know, or kill something, whatever, and be as precise as you need in your hint. So just leave the town and come back, for example. Then your congratulations string is, I don't know, yay, you made it, get your reward. And you can also use a summary, as I said in the introduction. I don't go over, or actually in the quest list, in the quest video, I don't use a summary in this case, but later on you can also summarize everything when you pop up another quest or another UI video, for example. Then you can summarize the whole quest once again and pass over the text for that. So next quest is again for a chain quest, but I don't want that to be a chain quest for the moment, so it's keeping or staying 0. The quest objective is just called like a trigger, for example, or any string. Again, you can also use anything else. And you can also use use spaces and so on and so forth. And we have the objective count, so we only want to, the objective count is going to stay 0. The requirement is leave the town once, so the requirement is 1, and EXP, gold, and item reward are going to be stuff for later on. And don't forget to save. And while we are currently fiddling around with the quest manager, we can also go in and create a prefab out of this. So we go into our prefabs folder, create a new folder in here, and we say everything about quests. Open this one up and create a prefab by dragging this one in. So we can actually have the quest manager in any scene later on. So we just pass over that, and all the info in the quest manager itself will be automatically in every scene. And that's pretty cool, pretty easy to use later on. So to trigger that, we can easily just use one simple function in the, for example, in that leave town collision handler. Let me just open this one up pretty quick to show you how this could work later on, or how this will work later on. So what we will have is, if somebody is going to enter or actually hit that particular collider, so we can say maybe on trigger enter if there is any stuff on that, and collider other, of course it's of type void. And that's just to show you how you can activate later on or add to the quests. So what we say is quest manager dot quest manager, which is the instance of the quest manager, and now we can say we can accept the quest, add a quest, cancel, mock, I don't know, and compare tags. And we can complete the quests, we can request quests, and we can all the functions we already have in there we can use. And when we are adding a quest item, we need to pass over a string, and this string is going to be, in this case, a leave town 1, which is the quest objective we passed in, and we also give it back a 1 item amount. So when we are going through that collider in here, through that box collider, and trigger that, we will automatically send the information to add quest item. What we need to do is to trigger that, and that I am able to show you that, we need to save that scene pretty quick once again and go back to the world map scene. And what I also want to do is I drag in my quest manager into the world map. So I have that quest also in here, and I can show you what's happening with the progress. So let's assume we have taken the quest already. So we go back into the towns pretty quick, save. And somehow it lost the connection to our prefab. Gonna drag this one once again in here. Hopefully it's not losing that once again. Again, we have stored everything anyways in here. I don't know why. Okay, so let's assume we have already accepted that quest. So let's go and test that. There we go. So I have my little character guy in here, and we change the available quest to be accepted right now. What I do is when I leave the town in here, I would automatically the quest manager will be automatically updated to be completed once we are going through, or actually it should, except something is not getting triggered. Oh no, we don't have that in the current list. Ah, that's not cool. Okay, then we need to do that a bit different. Let's just do that in another video. But basically that's what it is. When this particular quest is in the current quest list and it is accepted, then we would be able to pass over that information that we are leaving the town, and we would be able to complete the quest later on. But since we already have 50 minutes here on the clock and I need to cut all that stuff, I will go over and create several other videos to complete the whole quest system later on. So thanks for watching. For now we have almost completed the quest manager. In the next part we will pass over the quest object into the quest manager too, so we are able to pass over stuff into the current quest list, and so on and so forth, and compare states and all the other things. So, thanks for watching again, and see you in the next part. Bye bye. Thanks for watching the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumb this video up if you like it, and feel free to become my patron or donate by using PayPal to support me and my channel in the future. All links will be below in the description. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.